Good evening and welcome to Monday Motivation. Yes, my name is Jabu Zwane. What a great weekend it has been. So many incredible events happening all over South Africa, celebrating the beauty, the elegance, the power, the bravery, the courage of women. And I must say, I had a great time myself this past weekend being part of some of these events. But tonight, we are going to continue still on talking about mindsets. And we're going to be talking about 5 of the 7 types of mindsets we started about 3 weeks ago. And I want us to think about this one particular statement. There's one of my favorite verses actually in the Bible that says this: "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." So we can say, for example, as a person thinks, so are they. Everything that we eventually become begins and ends with a thought. But what is the sad reality is that most of the people don't know what they're thinking. They're not even aware what has been planted in their minds, and quite a lot of people come to some point in their lives and are asking themselves this question: how did I get here? How did I become this way? And tonight, hopefully, we can help to give you some frameworks that can help you to figure out who have you become, how did you come to be about, and how can you start to change. We mentioned we started this series on mindsets that there are 7 types of mindsets: fixed mindset, growth mindset, dominant mindsets, positive mindsets, negative mindsets, poor mindsets, and transcendent mindset. And tonight we're talking about the 5, starting, of course, with dominant mindsets. What are dominant mindsets? Now, dominant mindsets are the categories of thinking that pretty much have a lion's share on the way you think. Referring back again to definitions, that mindsets are those structured categories of thinking that lead to a specific outcome, whether you are aware of it or not. And our job on Monday Motivation is to make you aware of those categories of thinking. Dominant mindsets predominantly start in our foundational structures when we're still quite young, and quite a lot of them are informed by those important experiences, whether they be the warm moments that you had with your parents or traumatic events that you had when you're growing up. But most crucially, I want to concentrate on your approved sources of influence, which predominantly would be your parents, your teachers, people of great influence when you're still growing up, while you're still quite impressionable and unable to make sense of life and dependent on the experience, having gone before you and them sharing certain things with you about people, about race, about religion, about nationalities, about all sorts of things today that we call biases. That at some point when you're older, you need to take time to begin to investigate those dominant mindsets. What do you think about yourself when you're in a position of power? What do you think about yourself when you've got money, when you don't have money? What do you think about women? What do you think about all sorts of different things that make you hold strong opinions about stuff in life? If you're not aware of those types of dominant mindsets, they have control on your life. You can find yourself making choices about your career, making choices about who to marry, making choices about, certain things that can get you even in trouble, holding certain chauvinistic ideas, certain discriminatory ideas. Do you know why you think what you think? Do you know where it comes from? Is that something that you still subscribe to? Have you validated it? Have you assessed it? Are you sure that when you say, "I always say," when you say, "I feel very strongly about this," and when you take a stand about a particular matter, is that really you, or is it a borrowed idea that you have not even investigated? And that's what dominant mindsets are. The second type of mindset we're going to talk about tonight is positive mindsets, or what we call empowering mindsets. And these are mindsets that help you to achieve what you want in a way that is functional, in a way that is helpful to your life. It could be mindsets around confidence, mindsets around courage, mindsets around your potential, and then of course mindsets around your competencies. Do you know what those are? Do you have a portfolio of evidence that supports your skills? Do you know why you are great at certain things? I was thinking about this particular thought, and I want you to indulge me a little bit, and here it is. People who are great, who operate at a genius level, but don't know that that's their genius level, become exploitable. If you're not aware of your genius level, you end up giving away your greatest asset because it's so easy for you. I'll give you a simple example. For me, speaking is very easy. Drawing, graphic designs, creativity is my level of genius in many different instances. So if somebody comes to me and says to me, can you help me with a logo? I don't have to think twice about it. I can do it just like that. But this is what I've noted though. If you don't create value around your level of genius, you become exploitable and you end up having this one word, resentment. Resenting people for using you because you don't know how much you are valuable or how valuable some of your skills and talents are. And I'll strongly recommend that you know what that is because that's what also will help you to build those positive mindsets that support your abilities. The third one is negative mindsets, or what I call limiting mindsets. And limiting mindsets are premised around three crucial things. The first one is shame, which is that overall sense of not being good enough, that you're missing, you're falling short of some standard. The second one is fear, which is about not having sufficient ability to look after yourself, to protect yourself, to take on powers that be, and to even sometimes go for what you want. And the third one is guilt. And guilt is about that moral framework that makes you feel like you are not to be trusted. You are not a good person, that you might have ulterior motives. You know, people who feel very guilty tend to be they doubt themselves. And the two results of having these three types of mindsets where you are feeling ashamed and you're feeling guilty and you're feeling fearful is that you become a very doubtful person, constantly second guessing, constantly going to look for validation, constantly not being able to come to a conclusion about certain things that you even know that you can get done. And then the other thing is that you condemn yourself. Then the third or the fourth mindset I want us to talk about tonight is the poor mindset. And these are like very incomplete. These are mindsets, the ways of thinking that are sourced in incomplete thoughts. Something that is normally said, let's say from your environment. They can say maybe you women are like this. They can say that men are like this. But it's an incomplete thought because it's not even supported by evidence. But because it is said so often, it has been strongly imprinted in your mind. It has become part of your speech. It has influenced the way that you think. And unfortunately, with poor mindsets, we normally rely more on what is normally accepted, what is the norm, what is socially acceptable, and crucially, the emotional feeling that we have around that thought. Somebody can have a strong thought about, simple example, this is how my tribe is like. This is what people from that tribe are like, from that race are like, from that religion are like. But they don't have a strong evidential account. They don't have a friend from that particular religion. They don't have any person from that particular tribe. But all that they do is just purely based on some weak, incomplete, fragmented thought around who those people are. And the last one I'll talk about is the transcendent mindsets, which are mindsets that don't depend on logic, reasoning. Most of the time, actually, these are mindsets that are based on religion, on some kind of a belief. Some kind of a belief where you believe more on the transcendent power or the transcendent framework that does not submit itself to what is normally practical, what is normally reasonable, or what is normally scientific, let's say. What are some of those? They could even be inspired by your own desires, where you want something so bad that you are willing to surpass any kind of logic just to go out and achieve that particular thing. You know, so people have transcendent mindsets around, for example, betting. Transcendent mindsets could even be around issues like your addiction, where when it comes to you governing yourself, disciplining yourself, following some kind of a strategy, a plan, a reasonable way of thinking around the particular matter, you fail because you think that whatever it is that you're dealing with is beyond you. So hopefully tonight, you kind of end up an understanding around these 5 types of mindsets. What are your dominant mindsets? What are your positive or empowered mindsets? What are your limiting or negative mindsets? What are your poor mindsets? And lastly, do you understand fully what those transcendent mindsets are? Because if you don't understand who you as you are, you cannot manage yourself. If you cannot manage yourself, you cannot lead yourself. If you cannot lead yourself, you are going nowhere slowly. My name is Jabu Zwane. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. I hope this was very helpful to you and it gave you some framework that you can refer to later on around mindsets. Enjoy the rest of the programming and the rest of what remains of the Women's Month. Good evening.